Okay, so if you've made it this far, you'll see that we've got the ability to send a message from someone to someone with a subject and a message body. We don't have any way to view these messages, so I guess that's pretty important. The other thing I thought about is that we don't really have any way to delete these messages. Um, I kind of think it's a bad idea to let somebody fully delete the message. I think you want evidence if somebody sends something that they shouldn't. So what I would say is let's go in here and let's make another column and let's call it deleted, and we'll give it an int of 1. And in the event that somebody actually deletes a message, all we're going to do is put a 1 here, but we're actually going to keep the message in the database so that you have the record of it. So anyway, I think that's an interesting feature. That's a design choice. You could fully delete the message, but the hit on the database of keeping these things is not really a big deal, and so I think you're better off not allowing the actual message to be deleted. That's just my opinion. So anyway, I don't know how far we're going to get on this, but let's go ahead and make a new page. We want to be able to view all the messages that somebody gets. And so for this, since we kind of cheated on the last page, I'm going to do something a little different. We're going to go and actually make a page from scratch. And so you'll see here we have this user spice blank, and the idea of it is that this is made to be in the users folder. If you were going to be in the root folder, you would use this project root, but since we're editing the system itself, we're going to go ahead and use this user spice blank. And I'm going to do a save as, and I am going to save it and call it messages.php. And if you're familiar with the system, then you know that if we were to go there, we would get an error. So we're going to come to this, and we're going to take this and allow only users and administrators to access it. So now what we have is we have a blank page, and there's really nothing to it. In fact, we'll just go ahead and go there. Let me snap my window and messages. And it just says this is the main content section. And so we're going to come in here, and we may clean this stuff up later, but let's I think that's a little bit big. Let's make this an H3, and we'll put your messages. Now I am terrible with tables, but let's go ahead and make a table. And let's give it a I am bad at this. Let's give it class equals table stripe, I think is what it's called. Maybe hover. Let's do hover. That's a bootstrap thing. And then let's dothead for table head. And then tr, is it? I think so. And then maybe, I think these are ths. So basically we've made a row, and that these are each the column names. And let's say from and subject. Oops. You know, we didn't put any kind of timestamps on these things. Do we want to do that? Yeah, let's go ahead and do this. So what we're going to do, we'll pause for a second here, and we will go back to our database. See, this is the idea of thinking it through together. Let's go with adding a timestamp. Let's think. Let's do, there's a couple different formats we can use. We could do a date time. We could do a timestamp. Let's go with, the thing about the timestamp is that it's automatically generated in here. All right, let's take a look. Let's search my project here. And let's see, find in project. Where's that at? Find in project. I know that it would say something like date equals. So yeah, this is going to be an example date type thing. So let's take this and go to create message. And what we're going to do is we are going to put a date and time in here when the message is created. So if not empty post, and you clear this thing, excuse me, date is this. And so this is the year, month, date, and then 24-hour clock, minutes and seconds. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the database, and if this works right, if I have the formatting right on that, then we should be able to come in here and add another column called sent. I don't know. Let's just try it. We'll add a column, and it'll be date time, not just date. Ooh, I just saw it there for a second and it got away from me. Date time, there we go. And then we'll just put sent on and save that. So now what we're going to do is go back into our send form thing, and we're also going to add sent. Oh, I'm fading fast. Done too many videos. Sent on Okay, and then we're going to neaten this up because that really bothers me. Save it. So let's go ahead and create a new message one more time. And I need to put an ID in here because we're not checking that yet. Oops. So now when I come to the database, that last one might still be in there too. But yeah, so we have the date and the time in here, and that's good. That's good to have. It'll start with zeros on some of these demos. But so anyway, let's go back to our, oops, I think I closed it. Let's go back to our messages.php. And we will put the sent on here. I told you that as we go through this, you're going to find more things that you wish you could do. So we have this table here, and if we load the page messages.php, you're going to see that we have your messages from, subject, and sent on. And so what we're going to do is we are going to get all of your messages. And so if you look here, then we're going to write a PHP query. And what we're going to do is we're going to say messages q for query equals db query select star from messages. And I think it's called messages, not message. I need to make sure. Messages. Where sent to equals question mark. If you haven't watched my videos on using the database, then you probably should do that first. You should probably stop and go back. I explain what I'm exactly doing here, but what we want to do is we want to find all the messages where sent to equals this. And what this is the logged in user's ID. So that's user data ID. And then we're going to put the semicolon. And so what we also want to do is go and deleted not equal to 1. So in other words, if it's been deleted, don't show it. And let's say we want to have the most recent first. So let's say order by sent on descending. So what that's going to do is this is going to say, hey database, give us everything from messages where sent to is my user ID and deleted is not equal to 1, meaning the message hasn't been deleted, and then order it, in other words, put it in the order of newest to oldest. And so now what will happen is if now we need to get the results back from that. So if I come here, I will say messages equals messages queue. So in other words, give me, this is the results of this query. Now, if you notice from the database, none of these things have been written to user number 1. So we're going to go ahead and just put some of these in here as being sent. We'll just reverse this around. We're going to say that these were sent from 2 to 1 so that we have some messages to look at. And then this one has all the information, so that's probably pretty important. We'll have that going from 2 to 1. So basically what we've done is these are messages from the user called user to me. And now let's see what happens. So we come in here to the database, or to our PHP, and we're going to stop in just a moment, but we're going to take the table and we're going to go to tBody and make the body of the table. And so now what we're going to do is we need to take these results that we have from the query and we need to loop through them. So we're going to do for each. We're going to open up our PHP tags. For each messages, which is coming from here, as I'm just going to do M because it's faster. And then we're going to open those up, and then we're going to make sure to go ahead and close our PHP. But what we want to do is each row of these, we want to have, so we have 3 rows. So the from, the subject, and the sent on. So I'm going to do, I think this works, td star 3. Yep. Gives me 3 sets of these. I'm going to close my PHP here. And I'm going to close this here. It's fine. So now I'm going to tab this stuff over. I don't know why. As you can tell, I haven't tabbed anything else on this project. And now we are going to have, in this, we're going to echo. This is the same. So I could do PHP echo, or I could just do this. And that is M, because it's the for each loop. Actually, that's a bad example. We'll do the subject because I'm already typing. So the subject would be here, and then the sent on would go here. And then the last thing we want to do, there's a built-in feature from UserSpice called echo user, and then in that user we're going to pass in the ID of that user. So that would be M sent from, like that, I think. Is that what it's from? Sent from? Is that what the database says? Message from. Now let's make sure we have all our PHP closed. We're going to do our semicolon there. So we're getting a little long on this video, but we have from, subject, and sent on, and we're for eaching through these things, and we're echoing out the username of who sent it. We are echoing out the subject, and we are echoing out the sent on. And so if I save this and everything went well, then refreshing the page gives me a bunch of errors. So I obviously missed something. So undefined property standard class message from and subject. So I obviously botched my query somehow. So let's take a look. I'm going to start up here. Messages equals select star from messages, and then messages equals message queue. So let's just see what we have here. So let's do dump and die messages. And let's see what we have. So we're only getting an ID. That doesn't look right. Something is wrong. So let's try to simplify our query. Select star from messages where sent to equals. Let's just look at that. Let's make sure all that's right. See, it's message to. That's the problem. So you guys probably saw that about 8 minutes ago. So message to, and then if we refresh the page, we should get all the messages. Okay, that's good. So now we can get rid of that dump and die. which was killing the page. And if all is well, then okay, the problem is, I think, so we're obviously getting the user, that's good. But what we're not getting is the subject, and we're getting sent on. So there's a so subject. That's obviously we messed it up. It's message subject. I knew from the very beginning that not being able to use from and to was going to cause me a problem. So we're going to come in our for each loop, and this is message subject. And I knew that would cause me a problem. There we go. So now the problem is we are echoing them all out on the same row. So I didn't close my row here, and what I need to do is, you can see well, in fact, I never even made a row. So this stands for row, and then I'm going to close this out and save it and refresh the page. And now we are getting them both in reverse order, and we're getting the things. This is echoing out the user's first name and last name, which this is just a temporary account. But anyway, it took a little longer than I expected, but now we have a chart of messages.